Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcella Paris, and as the director of the Lewiston Public Library, I would like to welcome everyone to the Great Falls Forum. The Forum is a monthly speaker series featuring leaders in the areas of business, public policy, academia, and the arts, and is a partnership of Bates College, the Lewiston Public Library, and the Sun Journal. This is the 24th season of the program, so we thank you for your ongoing support. A recording of today's program will be available starting tomorrow on the library's YouTube page. Please visit lplonline.org for more information. And please mark your calendar for the final Great Falls Forum program of the season. That will be on Thursday, May 19th, also at 12 noon, and will feature Judith Meyer, executive editor for the Sun Journal, Kennebec Journal, and Morning Sentinel, alongside David Chittum of the Androscoggin Historical Society, and Steve Collins, State House reporter for the Sun Journal. And they will be doing a panel discussion on 175 years of recorded history through journalism. More information on that panel is available now at, again, the library's website, lplonline.org. And so a little housekeeping for today's program. Those on Zoom will see a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. You can use this to enter any questions at all for our speaker today. For those joining us on Facebook Live, go ahead and type your questions in the comment box there. Feel free to ask questions as we go, and our speaker will answer at a couple different points in today's program. And now I have the pleasure to introduce our speaker, Amy Smith. Amy graduated from Dartmouth College in 1984 and worked in the software industry for 32 years, defining, designing, and delivering high-quality technical solutions to critical business problems. She raised 3 children in Yarmouth, where she managed various booster groups and created a high school rowing program. In 2016, she transferred her management and design skills to creating durable, quality, affordable housing, and focused her philanthropic work on creating a parallel organization where she could invest time in the community. She now lives in the heart of Lewiston's Tree Streets, managing 22 affordable rental units, serving on the board of directors of Avesta Housing and Healthy Neighborhoods, and managing 2 nonprofits, Healthy Homeworks and Lewiston Rowing. In 2021, she brought her love of rowing to Androscoggin by way of Riverfest 1.0. Here to share more about what led her to fall in love with Lewiston, welcome, Amy, to the Great Falls Forum.
Thank you so much, Marcella, and thanks to everybody for joining us. Very excited to be here today. It is a little weird because I can't see when you're zoning out or falling asleep, so hope that you'll bear with me. As I'm going to do a few screen shares along the way. So as I was looking for some photos to share today, I came across one that I really liked. So if you guys can see this, it reads make, measure, fail, learn. Make, fail harder, learn even more, make again, succeed, change everything, and then repeat. Now, I honestly can't remember where I was when I took the photo or to whom I should attribute the quote, but I think it sets the tone nicely for our conversation today. So in the software engineering world, this is called iterative design, and it acknowledges that you can't possibly have all the answers when you start your design. Instead, after you identify a problem that needs a solution, you start by starting and adjust along the way. You accept that failure is a key ingredient and that the more you try and fail, the more you learn. And eventually, with perseverance, hard work, and can-do attitude, you should succeed. So software design was my professional work for 32 years. I graduated college the same year. The 128K Macintosh was introduced, for those of you who remember. The first computer that was designed for the rest of us with an easy-to-use graphical user interface. I had a degree in cognitive psychology and a handful of engineering courses and went into the fledgling discipline of user experience design, where the goal is to understand who exactly will use your system and then design it so that your target user type will succeed. So it turns out that you can apply iterative design to just about any endeavor, and that your best chance for success is to always make sure that whoever's going to use your creation is going to love it. So what does this have to do with healthy homeworks, housing, rowing, Lewiston? Bear with me here. So in 2014, my adult daughter was struggling to find an affordable apartment in Portland, and my husband and I were thinking about selling our Yarmouth home of 23 years. We decided that the solution to both problems was to leave Yarmouth for a distressed triple-decker on Munjoy Hill in Portland. So in January 2015, I took on the role of general contractor with no prior experience and did my best to apply my software project management and design skills to the project. I knew a lot about homeownership, but knew absolutely nothing about rental housing. So throughout the project, folks would just wander in to check it out, and they would ask me questions like, do you take vouchers? Is this going to be affordable housing? Can I fill out an application right now? If I give you $500 right now, will you hold an apartment for me? Will you pay the utilities or would I? What appliances are included? Will you have on-site storage? And my responses went something like, what's a voucher? I guess it will be affordable if you make enough money to pay the rent. I don't have any applications. I don't know what the rent will be. I can't take your money because I don't have a bank account to put it into. I have no idea when the apartment will be ready, and I haven't even thought about what's included in the rent. But it was great to have the questions because up to that point, my whole plan was, well, I'm going to fix this up, live on the 3rd floor, and rent out the other 2 floors. So the questions kicked me into, user experience design mode. Who exactly is going to live here when I'm done? What will they want and need? And how do I design the spaces to maximize their success? So each unit had 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So I decided my target user was a small family with 1 to 2 kids, and adjusted the design to include things like in-unit laundry, storage lockers in the basement, high quality durable appliances. And I figured if I made it work for them, it would also work for lots of other folks like empty nesters, young couples, roommate situations, and so on. So when the project was complete in November, I had made a lot of mistakes and went way over budget, but I also learned a lot and put together and really enjoyed the company of a great team and was proud of the results. And, most importantly, I had discovered my new passion, which is, rehabbing distressed triple deckers and turning them into affordable housing that people are excited to call home. And I'm just going to pause there and see if there are any questions so far.
Nothing so far.
Okay, great. So then that was November 2015. And in January 2016, I sort of considered myself, like a one-trick pony. And I knew how to do triple deckers. And so I'm going to offer you a quick challenge here. So here are 2 triple deckers. One is in Portland and the other one is in downtown Lewiston. And because I only knew how to do one thing, I tried to get something as similar as the first house to the second. So I'll leave you guys to debate which one is where. Well, okay. The one on the left is Portland and the one on the right is Lewiston. So I wanted to invest my time and money in a community that had a lot of triple deckers, where the need for housing was high and where the cost of entry was lower than Portland. We looked briefly at Biddeford, but settled quickly on Lewiston after reading Catherine Bestman's book about the incredible journey that led thousands of Somali immigrants to settle here. It seemed there were so many wonderful families determined to make a new life for their children, living in distressed housing with the highest rate of childhood lead poisoning in the state. So after touring several properties where most folks were sleeping on the floor or on bedbug infested mattresses, we knew that investing in properties wasn't enough. We also needed to invest in the people more directly. So the same month that we purchased the first Lewiston property, which you saw on the previous slide, I founded Healthy Homeworks with the mission of helping owners and residents collaborate as shared stewards of aging properties. So that's a pretty broad mission and a tall order. And we knew that that would take a lot of time to figure out exactly how we were going to do that. But our first step was small and very tangible. We wanted to empower as many folks as possible to get up off the floor, away from the bed bugs and the poisonous lead paint dust, and into a brand new bed. So the idea was to open a neighborhood bed factory where volunteers could earn a free bed by building their own and by building surplus beds that we could sell. So the first thing we did was build a prototype bed, which looked pretty good, but we definitely made mistakes and had to refine it. So we built this rugged pine bed and refined it so that it was something that we felt we could teach anybody to build. And then we rented space in the Pepperell Mill and set up shop there. And these folks up in the corner are from Take Two Youth Build, downtown Lewiston, way back in 2016. And these charming young people are my daughter, Allie, and my son, Jake, who helped us set up the shop. And Allie is designed our curriculum. And then in the fall, we opened up our doors and started offering the Build-A-Bed program. So when we opened the program, it was really a success right off the bat. The people who came through our doors were really extraordinary. We had recent immigrants, we had folks whose families had been in Lewiston for generations, all different ages, religions, languages, and lived experiences. And they were all so excited to be there and ready to learn. One student made the remark, this operation is setting an incredible example. It's showing that if you believe in folks and give them an opportunity, they'll step up and work to solve their own problems. And we did have a retail sales component of the program, and Preble Street Resource Center was our biggest retail customer. They run a Housing First program where they find and secure housing for homeless veterans, and they always buy them a new Healthy Homeworks bed, and then we have the privilege of delivering it. But the Build-A-Bed program had another incredibly fortunate side effect. Our work was noticed by the Healthy Neighborhoods Network, and through them, we met dozens of other Lewiston organizations who were also committed to the downtown and its residents. So in 2017, we were invited to participate in their annual mini grant program, and we received funding to test drive the idea of a workforce development program where we would leverage our Build-A-Bed graduates' skills, the bed building skills, into home improvement skills. And that was a great learning experience. And we did it that first year and then sort of tabled it, but remembered the lessons that we learned from that. And then in 2018, we received a grant to create the pop-up garden, which is a backyard-sized community event space at 115 Bartlett Street, right in the heart of the Tree Streets. And then in 2019, we received a grant to improve the venue and hold some free community barbecues. So I want to talk about healthy neighborhoods for just a minute. My favorite part of that grant program is that it's specifically designed to encourage small local organizations and residents to be creative and collaborative and to have the courage to try new things that they think will benefit the whole neighborhood. It's iterative design in action, and everyone pitches in to try help folks succeed. After the dust settles and all the projects are completed in late November, all the grantees are invited to a shared learning presentation where everyone gives an honest recap that includes successes, failures, lessons learned, and ideas for improvement. And it's such an open and welcoming group that the dialogues generated there are really great. And every year, the grant program has improved and I think has had a higher impact. So by March of 2020, I'd become a member of the Healthy Neighborhoods Board, and Healthy Homeworks had graduated over 150 students. On March 13th, 2020, we shut down the Build-A-Bed program because of COVID. And in April 2020, we helped Healthy Neighborhoods redesign the mini grant program into a COVID rapid response program. And in less than a month, they delivered 16 grants of $2,500 each to local organizations that were dedicated to helping neighbors through the early days of the pandemic. And because they pivoted so quickly, that $2,500 was, for most of these folks, the first money that they received to help with the situation on the ground. So there we were, Allie and I, with the Build-A-Bed program shut down indefinitely. And we went back to the drawing board, trying to figure out how Healthy Homeworks could continue to fulfill its mission. Now, back in 2017, Allie had purchased a condemned triple-decker in the Tree Streets, rehabbed it into 3 beautiful apartments, and became an owner-occupant. We had participated heavily in the Choice Neighborhood outreach and the generation of the transformation plan, which revealed that only 4% of Tree Street's residents own their houses. So a full 96% of the housing stock was owned by absentee landlords. So we firmly believe that the best way to create a vibrant and well cared for neighborhood is to increase the number of homeowners. So we pivoted to our current project, which we're calling Renter to Owner. And this program focuses on creating home ownership opportunities for folks who currently rent in the downtown. It strives to open the door to wealth building for people who are not raised in the US financial system or whose parents never owned a home. You know, folks who literally don't know what they don't know about buying and owning a home, and don't even understand, don't understand how or why it's important to long-term financial stability. So the goal of that program is to create a sustainable system that brings homeownership equity to our courageous and hardworking neighbors. And it does 3 different things. The first, it creates an inventory of high quality, low maintenance, affordable starter home condominiums out of the aging housing stock. So as you saw on the first slide, the housing stock here in Lewiston is literally identical to the stock in Munjo Hill, and most of those buildings at this point are condos, although they're not affordable at this point. So create a quality of starter homes. The second point is to develop an informed pool of educated first-time home buyers by delivering in-depth, hands-on, really brutally honest, no holds barred education to folks who currently rent in the downtown. And then the third part is to collaborate with banks and CDFIs to create appropriate loan products because our Muslim neighbors can't pay interest. And so we are working to develop a special product of fee-based loans instead of interest-bearing loans. So I want to just show you one slide of our class in action. You'll see that it's a combination of classroom delivery and hands-on deliveries back at our same former bed building location at the Pepperell Mill. I want to give a shout out to this beautiful training room, which our community partner, Community Credit Union, is letting us use for the trainings. It includes sessions with these over here, our loan officers from various banks. And in this particular module, after hearing some of the overview material, each participant was able to meet with a loan officer in a very, risk-free, unintimidating setting. And then the hands-on portion, which is always everybody's favorite, happens at the mill. And we teach things like how to repair screens and unclog toilets and what tools you should have in the house. And one fun fact that I want to share, one of our students here, Francisco, this was last week here, so April of 2022, is the same person who you see here in 2017 who was one of our very first Build-A-Bed program participants. And then in October of 2020, I bumped up the percentage of owner-occupied properties by a fraction of a percentage point by moving into a 6-unit building right in the heart of downtown Lewiston. So now I'm going to pause. And before I tell you why this has led to my love of Lewiston, I would happy to take some questions.
So while we wait to see if any new questions are coming in, we do have one comment that Lewiston has always been proud of the many quality triple deckers. Almost all were owner occupied and very well maintained. I'm so pleased to see these beautiful structures brought back to respectable condition.
I couldn't agree. They are absolutely my favorites.
No other questions right now.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
here's one. Here's one. We actually had two come in just as I said that. So where can we find volunteer or work opportunities to help?
Ooh, what a great question. So if you go to, Healthy Neighborhoods does a lot to offer volunteer opportunities. And if you go to growingourtreestreets.com, that website has a place that you can sign up for the newsletter and you can put comments in there. So just send us a line send Healthy Neighborhoods a line and you'll get hooked up with all sorts of different ways that you can be out and about in the community. Their mini grant cycle just started up last Friday. They were open for grant ideas and most of the volunteer opportunities happen in the late spring and summertime for those particular projects. So thank you so much for asking.
And we have one question wondering, who do you collaborate with? Prosperity Maine, or Raise Up, or others?
My gosh, so many. I don't want to ever leave anybody out. So let me see what I can come up with. Okay, so we've got Goodwill Take Two, Healthy Androscoggin, Root Cellar, Hammond Lumber, New Beginnings, Bates, Preble Street, City of Lewiston, Tree Street Youth, Community Credit Union. I mean, it's really quite a list of partners. So Mears, I'd have to get back to you with a full list, but it's been remarkable. And I would say that the collaboration has expanded even more since the pandemic, where people have really reached out and tried to make community connections in order to leverage all of our resources to have the best impact.
We have someone who says, first, thank you for all you've done and continue to do. I'm curious to know if you see racial and cultural diversity in the people who benefit from your services.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we did early on with the bed program, because we got a long waiting list right away, is we really tried to, it was always a class of 4, and we really tried to bring people together from all different backgrounds so that they could get to know people through this shared experience across all sorts of different boundaries, age, race, religion, language. So we intentionally blended folks from different backgrounds, and it was really, really a lot of fun to see how they bonded. We had one situation where we had a gentleman from the Congo and a woman who lived in Lewiston her whole life, and his English was he was pretty new to the language, but it turns out that she spoke French because her heritage was French Canadian. And so the two of them did half the class in French, and it was really, really fun to watch.
We have someone commenting, Amy, I was a Build-A-Bed 2019 participant. You made an interesting statement that our new immigrants can't afford interest-based home loans. Why are they different from other poor Americans? And how do you find capital for interest-free home loans?
Ooh, that is just such a great question. So it's there's in the Muslim faith, there's Sharia law, and part of that law says that you are not allowed to charge or pay interest. And I don't pretend to know everything about that law, but the solution is fee-based loans instead of interest-bearing loans. And the Genesis Fund and a few other have figured out how to offer fee-based loans, but only on commercial properties. And so our last nut to crack is your exact question: finding capital that will be willing to make these kinds of loans that aren't banks, because banks are federally insured and they have to comply with all sorts of consumer lending laws. So stay tuned on that, because that's literally our big push for the next couple months, is trying to line up that capital. And if you have any capital or ideas, we'd love to hear about it.
Are all of your units the chopped down version of the once full-size rentals? Most of the original rents had more square footage than the average range house. Have you or will you restore some to their original size?
Another great question. I actually only have one property that is, I would say, was chopped up. All the rest, because I don't really like the ones that are chopped up, all the rest are full size. So that one triple decker that you saw in the original slide, I want to say that those units are over 1,500 square feet in size. And so I love the old buildings. I love the old details. I always try to put it back to the way they were, with, and not move walls or doors or anything like that, because I think that the layout was really, really sound. And having lived in one myself for 5 years, it's just a very livable floor plan. But thanks for asking.
And one more here. Do you have experience with Section 8 voucher programs or other forms of subsidized affordable housing?
I do. I learned a lot since restoring that property in Portland, when I had just no idea what a voucher was. So I do have a lot of experience. I would say at this moment, probably, when I first started in Lewiston, I would say 75% of my my residents use Section 8 vouchers, and now probably about 30%. And was the question, were you asking how they work? Did you want clarification on that?
It looks like the question was just asking about experience, but we'll see if they chime back in.
Mm-hmm.
That's the final question so far, though. Oh, let's see here. Oh, what was the reason that changed, the 70% down to 30%?
Oh, another good question. So the way the vouchers work is, as people become more financially stable, they start to make too much money to qualify for the voucher. And so in most cases, people's economic status improved, and in a couple places, just sort of normal turnover.
And last but not least, it looks like, oh, and how do voucher programs impact your operations as a landlord?
They really, for me, they really don't have a big impact. It's more paperwork. But it doesn't impact the way I market the units or the kinds of folks that populate the units.
That's all our questions for now.
Great. Thank you so much for all those. Okay, so let's talk about Lewiston for a minute. So I love Lewiston because I love the people who choose to live and work here. Another favorite place of mine is Saddleback Mountain, and their new slogan applies to Lewiston. I feel that they are down to earth and up for everything. So I'm going to start with the city staff. In my experience, they've been honest, practical, and very collaborative. Remember, I came from Portland, where most answers from the city started with no, and here's why. Or, fill out these forms and we'll get back to you in a couple of months. So in contrast, the first time that I visited the third floor in 2016 to ask about 2 buildings, a code inspector overheard me asking and jumped right in and said, well, which buildings? Some are worth it and some aren't. I'll tell you whether you're looking at crap or not. And I was like, wow, well, that's super helpful. I definitely don't want to be buying any crappy buildings. And then when Allie was looking at a condemned building and we asked code what was wrong with it, they said, well, the owner was not on the up and up. He let people stay there in the winter with no heat. And so we had to condemn it. But the building itself is solid. And when we went back to ask about condo conversion, they said, well, let's take a look and see how that could work. So I really can't say enough about how welcoming the city has been to, a range of things that we've tried to start up and ask for. One of our first grants ever for Healthy Homeworks Build-A-Bed came from the city by way of a CDBG grant. So they've been very welcoming. The other is just the amazingly compassionate, action-oriented, and engaged organizations. I mean, somebody asked me about the partner, and I should have made a list. I apologize for that. It's just so long. But especially the organizations that are involved in healthy neighborhoods, they're just proactive, creative, competent, collaborative, effective. I just can't say enough. And they're also really inclusive. So, just sort of this wraparound support and opportunities that these organizations make for our incredibly diverse neighborhood. And the third group that I just love, and I think Lewiston is so lucky to have amazing millennial muscle. A lot of times you hear people complain about millennials. They got no work ethic, they're immature, they're irresponsible, they're undependable. Well, come to Lewiston and we'll prove you wrong. Many of our best organizations, I feel, are powered by these impressive, passionate, action-oriented adults who will really just do whatever it takes to get things done. And finally, just the determined, hardworking neighbors, people who come to events, volunteer their time, care for their homes and their neighborhoods. They care for their families, many of them multi-generational, and they're just a daily inspiration. So the last story I'll share is how all these great people came together to create a new and exciting opportunity for our community, and especially for our youth. As Marcella shared, I did start a youth rowing program in Yarmouth with my other daughter, Emily, back in 2007. And when I moved into Lewiston in 2020, I started walking the river a lot. And it occurred to me at one point, it's like, boy, this would be just a great place to hold a rowing race. And so I went to the city again about holding a pilot rowing race at Simard Payne in July of 2021. And they said, interesting idea, help us understand how that would work. And then the whole partnership engine kicked in. And here I am going to name names. So I apologize if I missed anybody. So first, my former rowing club agreed to be the fiscal sponsor of a newly minted, Lewiston Rowing. Tom Platts generously let us use his fenced parking lot at 35 Beach Street to store our starter fleet of 3 rowing shells. Eric Wenzel of Easy Dock in Brunswick loaned us a beautiful new world-class floating dock. Marianne Brenchick, director of Lewiston's Public Works, helped design the water access in accordance with the 2012 Riverfront Master Plan. And then her team built the access path and worked with Eric to install the new dock. We found a little aluminum skiff for coaching and safety on Craigslist. And then the folks at Taylor Pond Yacht Club loaned us an outboard motor for the season. Healthy Neighborhoods gave us a mini grant for other out-of-pocket expenses related to the event. And then private donors and other sponsors like Baxter Brewing, LL Bean, Da Vinci's generously contributed to cover the rest of the costs. And then the chamber jumped in to help organize food trucks and the beer garden and devoted just hundreds of hours to the event, which really came off without a hitch. But the regatta, which was very visible to a lot of people, is only part of the story, because as we were assembling this infrastructure that we needed, we were also working with Tree Street Youth to pilot a teen rowing program. And the Healthy Neighborhoods Grant also helped us run a Touch a Boat, the Touch a Truck events. We did a Touch a Boat in downtown Lewiston at the pop-up garden to raise interest and awareness among the teens. And we did a small 3-week camp. It went well, but revealed a lot of challenges. But we're going to move forward with more this year. And as we look to the future, we want to create rowing opportunities for both youth and adults from all areas of the community. And, we really, we hope to make our stretch of the Androscoggin famous for its beauty, recreation, and hospitality. So I'm going to share one more picture with you. So this is a picture of the first day that the teens were there, offloading a very heavy old 8-person rowing shell. And we did manage to get it on the water. You'll see that a lot of the participants are wearing life jackets because of swim lessons is another thing that the community has been talking about, because a lot of our teens don't swim. And then the actual Riverfest, these are actually 2 former Bates rowing classmates who were in hot pursuit of each other during the competition. And just this year, Riverfest 2.0 is happening June 17th and 18th. So I hope everybody will come out and enjoy another great day on the river. So those are my prepared remarks. Are there any other questions?
We do have a few. And a couple are going back to housing specifically. After they no longer qualify for Section 8, where do folks move since there are so few apartments available in town?
Oh, great question. So the voucher stays with the person. It's not like I have units that are only for voucher holders. So basically what happens is, as they make more and more money, maybe when somebody moves in, if the rent is, $1,000, if they can only contribute $200 to the rent, Section 8 makes up the other $800. But then as incomes increase, their portion raises. So in a couple of years' time, it might completely flip-flop, and they do $800 and Lewiston Housing does $200. But eventually they become responsible for the full $1,000 if their income reaches a certain level. So they don't have to move when they're no longer eligible for the voucher.
We have someone asking, can most tenants have the opportunity to be joint owners?
To be joint owners. I'm going to try to tackle that. I would say most renters in Lewiston have the option of joining a co-op, where they are they're members of the co-op and they have a dedicated unit. They don't actually own it. They own a membership share in the co-op. So they're straight up rental units. We've got a lot of those in Lewiston, but very few vacancies. And then there are co-ops, which is sort of a closer to ownership. And then the units that we're developing are going to be condominiums where people can purchase their own unit and have autonomy on what happens inside their own unit, and then would be part of a collaboratively run homeowners association. But in that model, that's straight up home ownership, so they can buy and sell their unit.
We have a couple complimentary remarks here. So we have someone saying, "You're an amazing lady. Thank you for all you do."
Thank
So
you for
sure
that.
pass that along.
Got a lot of help.
And then we have one here. I'd like to say that your many projects, Amy, have provided amazing opportunities for Bates students to learn, grow, and participate in community. We're so appreciative of how creative and responsive you've been over the years in building such a great partnership with Bates.
I'm betting that came from Darby Ray. You're welcome,
did.
Darby. And just a special thing, we're hiring a Bates student starting this summer, right after he graduates, who was our intern for 2 years. And so Bates has been an incredible partner. And in fact, 2 other Bates students are currently painting a mural in our soon to be downtown daycare center. And they make a huge contribution to the community.
A question here. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing you as you continue to develop this community?
I'd say there are 2 challenges. The first is interest-free, non-interest bearing loans. That's a huge challenge because a lot of our neighbors just simply need loans that don't require interest. So that's a big nut to crack. The second one is just what everybody else is dealing with, the rising cost of properties. So, when that first triple decker that you guys saw was, purchased in 2016 for, $92,000. Well, units are going, something like that is going for $250 or more right now. And so the cost of entry is higher. And especially as we try to develop condominiums, the price point that we are shooting for is, like about $100,000 for a 1,200 square foot fully renovated unit. And so trying to hold that price point is increasingly difficult with the cost of entry going up and the cost of materials and labor also rising.
We have someone asking, so first, you're such an inspiration, Amy. Thanks for all you do. There's a lot of discussion now about development in Auburn and balancing protecting the Lake Auburn watershed with the need for housing. Can you talk about how new development compares to renovating existing properties?
Oh, thank you for that question. So it is way more affordable to renovate something existing, as long as there aren't major structural issues. And in general, you can purchase and renovate a building for a cost of about $100 a square foot. It might be a little higher now, but building new is more than $300 a square foot just for the building. That doesn't even include the site work. So if you buy an existing triple decker that's got good bones, of course it includes the land that it's on, but you can renovate that for maybe for this price point that we're talking about. So you'd have 3 units, maybe at 100 each. But to build the same thing, I once had a triple decker 4 years ago. I had somebody price out the construction of a brand new triple decker, and that was before the pandemic, and that came in at $900,000 just for the building. And then the site prep, would probably be, got to buy the land and then hook up to all the utilities. And that's in downtown where you have public water, sewer, et cetera. If you were doing a new development where you had to do septic and wells and all that other stuff, then it really starts. It's just expensive and it takes a long time.
So someone has asked if you could expand a bit on your statement about daycare or childcare centers.
Yes, I'm very excited about this one. So if you guys know where the old Val's Florist building is in downtown Lewiston on the corner of Bartlett and Pine, that has a large commercial space on the bottom and 4 residential units up above. And we've been working with Coastal Enterprises and the Cooperative Development Institute and a group of 4 Angolan asylum seekers, 4 women, who formed a daycare cooperative. And they're going to be opening up in that space at 115 Pine Street in late May. So we're very excited about that. So, women-owned small business cooperative right in the heart of the downtown with plenty of parking and outdoor play space. So that's been really fun and exciting to work with them because they're a very driven and committed group.
We still have time for a few more questions. We have one here, but I just want to let other folks know that if they still have questions, they can absolutely feel free to ask. So we have someone asking, what do you do for R&R? Your organizational skills are exhausting.
What do I do for R&R? Sometimes I ski, sometimes I row. Actually, I'm excited. Another new partnership that is just forming is the Lewiston Armory is going to let us hold erg sessions. So an erg is a rowing machine. And so we're starting a teen erging session next week, and we're hoping to open it up to adults as well. But the Armory is another amazing facility that Lewiston has to offer. And Lewiston Rec has been another great partner. So stay tuned on that.
Do you have solar panels or other green features in your renovated buildings?
So I don't, but Allie's building that she renovated in 2017 has a solar array on the roof, which is, I want to say 30 to 35 panels, and she's got heat pumps. So as we're developing these condos, we're also developing sort of guidelines for how to do the renovations. And energy efficiency is one of our big ones. Insulation in at least the attics and the basements, heat pumps in every unit, so each owner can control their own comfort and consumption, and then a heat pump hot water heater per unit as well. So no solar panels yet. That's a pretty sort of outside our budget, because a rooftop solar array, while these roofs are definitely suited to it, that would add about $40,000 to the overall project. But it is ready. So if we have a group solar or something else that we could tap into, we're definitely going to renewables as much as possible.
Someone has asked if you know anything about CEI may have been working on Lariba loans for Muslim home buyers.
So a lot of people are working on the problem, but everybody knows I'm looking for a solution. They haven't mentioned it to me. So I don't know that there's one there, but I will certainly ask the question again.
What would be your dream vision for Lewiston in 10 or 20 years from now?
I want as many homeowners as possible who choose to live in the downtown to be able to live there and own their homes and find financial and neighborhood stability for their families. I think everything starts with housing. I mean, you have to have a roof over your head and a stable environment to do just about anything else. So that's my big dream. And that extends to, there's been a lot of conversation about the, transitional resource center and shelters. And so, that we come to a real solution to that for our neighbors in the downtown. But housing and home ownership are at the heart of my dreams for the community.
I'm not seeing any other questions. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to speak to, Amy, before we wrap for today.
No, I think I'm good. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for the great questions too.
Yes, thank you everyone, and thank you for joining us and for all you've done and continue to do in town. We're very appreciative. I have some thank yous rolling in here in the Q&A.
Nice.
So
it's my pleasure. It's so great to be part of this community.
Thank you. And as a reminder to everyone, this talk will be posted to Facebook actually immediately after we conclude here, and then on the library's YouTube page tomorrow, Saturday at the latest. So if you'd like to share it with anyone or view it again, you're welcome to. And again, more thank yous are rolling in, Amy. So
well, again, thank you so much for listening.
All right. Have a wonderful afternoon.